Love is everything. I believe this is the only way we can heal as people.
Love and cheese.
Love and cheese.
Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon. Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to With Bowl and Spoon. I am here with my guest today, Anaïs from Chantal's Cheese Shop.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I am Anaïs, Saint-André Loughran. I know it's a mouthful, but I'm the co-owner of Chantal's Cheese Shop with my husband, and we opened it in 2018, so almost 6 years ago, in March 21st, thinking it will be spring and beautiful, and at least we can actually open and have a nice opening. It was 2 feet of snow. I remember that very deeply, and I was very upset about it.
Welcome to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, fortunately, I was in Pittsburgh before that. I arrived 10 years ago. Well, realistically, I have to go deep dive into the story of even why we opened the shop or the name of the shop, because the story was I named the shop after my mom because she passed away in 2013, and she was the one who actually was there to find my passion. I never knew what I wanted to do. So I came to the US and California. My uncle lives there, so it was a nice way after high school to just go there, and I was supposed to stay a year. And obviously I did not stay just a year, and that was 15 years ago.
That seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, especially California. It was Santa Barbara. It's very beautiful, and life is a little bit too nice over there. Beautiful
I mean, it
weather.
does get boring, the 75 and sunny every day.
Oh,
I mean,
very boring. Very
terrible,
boring.
Yeah. I actually grew up in Southern California.
Oh, so you know.
And I was a goth in the 80s. So yeah, I was like,
you definitely
like those 3 gloomy days a year we got. My joy, yeah.
Oh, it was the contrary. I came from a gloomy country, like part in Lyon, and it's pretty raining a lot during the year, and I arrived in California, and I was very confused why people were not going to school if it was a rainy day. I was like, what's happening? So
Dramatic.
I arrived in California and moved to New York near the end after getting my degree in communication. And this is where I met my husband. And I met Chris working at Balthazar in New York, and we arrived at the same training day for becoming servers there. I did have a boyfriend, but I did also know that the first time I saw him, that was going to be a problem. And 4 months later, we got married. So I guess it was a thing.
4 months later.
Wow. And we actually celebrating our 12-year anniversary next week, the February 21st. We had a courthouse wedding. So it's very important. Everything I'm saying, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but 2 months after, we actually had a Star Wars wedding with my in-law at my in-laws' backyard in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. And it was because my parents could not make it to the courthouse. It was so fast that we didn't have a ring at the courthouse. I didn't even know we needed a ring. And we decided to do a Star Wars wedding. And it was
You're saying Star Wars?
Yeah,
like
Star
the
Wars.
Movie. Right.
Correct.
Okay.
But it was nostalgic at the time before everything got bought, and now it's a whole thing. But we ended up getting married with costume and all kind of fun things and barbecue.
That is fantastic. I love to know that about you, and I love that everyone else is going to know that about you.
It was so much fun. It was really laid back, and we actually wrote the ceremony because it was not a real thing anymore, and we were already officially married. So we wrote the whole ceremony, and it was so much fun. But my mom and I went to pick up the cheese for the cocktail hour for this wedding, and we went to this little butcher shop in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, country butcher, and they have this little 4-foot case of cheese. And I'm from France. I was born and raised in France, and I am a real snob about cheese. So my mom and I talked to this lady, and I always say she was a little old lady, but she could be 50 to 150. I don't know. She was walking like little steps and she was telling me about cheese like no one else ever talked to me about cheese. Like it was poetry. She was telling me about Vermont and the hill and the meadow. Like, I don't know, poetry about cheese. In France, we know about cheese, right? We know the names of the cheese. We know almost what it tastes like. We think we know about cheese, but we know
almost
nothing.
Just take it for granted because you're French, you know cheese.
Exactly. We know.
I would take that for granted for you, yeah.
And suddenly I realized this is what I wanted to be. I never knew ever what my vocation was. And all around me, my friends were like, I want to be a nurse. And I was like, I'm in communication like that. I can do whatever I want. And someone will pick me to talk to someone that works with me. And so actually, cheddar is the cheese that humbled me because as a French person, we assume cheddar is just disgusting. And we think American sliced cheese and things like that. And also British and French people had wars and, we always have this thing. So I think cheddar never really made it to France the way that it is here.
I love that so much.
She talked to me about cheddar, and at first I was like, no, I don't want a cheddar. And she made me try this Vermont. I don't even know what cheddar it actually was nowadays. And it changed my mind. It was delicious. I was like, I guess let's put it on the plate. And while living and buying the food, I was like, Mom, this is who I want to be. I want to be this little old lady behind the counter. And I always joke saying like, realistically, she was probably 35 and not 55. This is it. That was it. And she said, well, maybe one day you will work in cheese and maybe you will have your own little cheese shop. And I was 22, 23. And I just laughed in her face, being just like the little brat that I was and my early 20s and being just like, okay, Mom. And
the seed was planted.
Realistically, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And we took off because the US does not allow you to get vacation as a server. So we quit our job to get married. And then we went to France for my husband to meet the family, not entire extended family. And when we got back, a cheese shop was hiring in Brooklyn where we were living at the time, 10 minutes walking distance from us. And Chris sent me the link and it was like, oh, you should apply. And I did. I went there and I said, I'm French. And they said, come on in.
Was that your qualification? I'm French. Okay.
Realistically, I did answer good answer from the question because, again, as French people, we all at least know the French cheeses. So I could definitely kind of go around certain questions just because I eat way too much cheese in my life. So,
and then you threw in I accept cheddar as an actual cheese. And they're like, okay.
I wish I did. Now I was trying to get hired. So, no, at the time, I don't think I realized the impact because even getting this job, I wasn't sure I was going to get it or that I will actually like working at cheese. But working with a small cheese spot and we moved after I left, but it was so tiny. And within a few months, I became a manager, buyer. I inhale all the knowledge. I was reading books already and it was perfect.
I feel like that's a really good cheese pun. You inhaled.
I smelled the cheese. Yeah, no. Working together, a lot of people are, I could never do that. But let's be honest, we started working together when we met.
Yeah.
But I feel having this passion for food and having the same idea of what we want and what we want to do with our lives and community, the sense of growing together. We are trying to do that at the shop as well. So it's really beautiful. And I feel I have a partner in life, but I have a partner in business and I can count on him. Does not matter what. So it's fantastic. I love working with him. Does he love working with me? Maybe not every day, but same, if he is upside down, we have our moods, but at least we understand each other. So if someone is kind of losing it, we're like, okay, let's bring it back. What's happening? How can we deal with this?
Yeah.
And it's really nice to be supported this way.
Yeah. Does he have as much of a passion for cheese as you do, or is this him supporting your passion?
Definitely him supporting my passion. He opened this for me, and we named it after my mom. So it was really my little baby, but he's the backbone of his business. Without him, his business will be out the door within a year. I feel like I will be free cheese to everyone. So he has a great business sense and a very great logic. So I'm more like a passionate artist. Well, it's a big word to say I'm an artist, but I'm more like about feelings and passion, and he's more logical. So we're a very different skill set. So it works very well together.
You are an artist. It's that creative side, it's that emotional side, for sure.
If you look in the shop, the art I did, papier-mâché, like I do a lot. This is me. Like I just do a lot of actually artistic things, and now I can be just, my hobbies are just my work, and I love it. I can put everything together. It's kind of nice to own your own business for that, but also no one tells you how hard it is. I don't think I imagine that it will be that hard. It is very hard every day.
I think people think you have your own business, you're your own boss. No, everybody's your boss.
Yes, it's actually, it's really nice. Like you think you're your own boss, and then you're like realizing you fold yourself in 17 for everyone instead of doing the thing that you want. But at the end, you do the things that you want, and it's also beautiful. So last year, we are very proud that last year we're in a financial position that we cannot really do it, but yet do it in the sense that we took a lot of risk to do it, because it was 5 years we've been open. And I think 5 years, we opened the business, I was 28. So it was 3 years prior that we even decided to go classes and business plans and figure it out, everything. So when we opened, I was such a baby and I had to learn so much, but also the fear of failing and not taking yourself seriously because you feel you're just a little young thing trying something. And after 5 years, you're like, well, we succeeded, COVID, and we're still open. So we decided to invest in our employees instead of, expanding. I think at this point, a lot of people would have expanded. A lot of people ask us to go to different side in Pittsburgh, which we always thought about it, but we decided to do the opposite. Because also we know that when you expand, you dilute a lot of your values. And we were not secure enough, and we were not happy about how we could treat people. I mean, we were just doing a regular business, right? It's hourly pay. We were paying more than a lot in the industry, but we were still hourly. So we decided to put everybody on salary, to move everybody on 4-day work week. And out of the 4-day work week, so 32 hours, we have 3 hours of study time. So we really want everybody to know, because I think a lot of people think retail is service job is lower than a lot of things. However, it's not true. Without the service industry, you literally do not have anything. And we noticed that during COVID, where they were actually the essential workers were the one who give you service. And for us was a way to finally put action into the words that we've been saying forever. So we also added 2 weeks paid vacation, and we have unlimited sick days, and we certify all of our cheesemonger they want to after 2 years through the American Cheese Society. And also we are trying to put in place, like we have a bonus plan, but we are trying to put in place project for people to expand their horizon, or at least do the things that they actually want to do. So we are working on this at this point. Each person has different books to read, for example, depending on what they want to do. But to grow at this point, we pay as much as we can. However, we need more money to pay more everyone. We are paid the same than our highest paid employee, for example. However, we need more money to pay us all more, and we cannot do it anymore. Chris and I have too much work on our hands, and we have been working nonstop for the past 7 years. We didn't take vacation for 7 years. We didn't get paid for 2 years, and then COVID hit. So there's all kind of things that happened that we planned for all of this. However, now is the time that we are done. We are getting older. I don't have the energy of a 25 years old. And I hope that they found their own way as well, because that's the goal. Even if it's not in food, I will hope that they find what matters to them, because at the end, we're building a community. I know it's not much yet, but I still believe that the best thing you can do in life is just to be kind and try to help the people around you, because you cannot change the world For example, during COVID, I was very frustrated and I actually broke my back 8 years prior. So I was going through back surgery and I could not be at work, even though I was working from home. But this is why I read so much and ended up being certified, because I was like, well, I need to do something with myself. But I also realized you get so angry, and everybody was angry during this time, but you cannot do anything. I mean, voting is great, but like at the end, it doesn't change fast enough. If it changes, might not change in the way that you want. And all you can do, it really is like be kind to one another, be there to support others around you. I'm not perfect. I'm not doing great every day, but I try to have that in mind every time to do better each day. And if the better today is just stay in bed all day, this is what you need to do. And I'm okay with that. So
I'm feeling that lately. I love that you talk about building community. That's really
well. We
great.
didn't invent anything, obviously. Cheese people show me how wonderful a community can be. And the American Cheese Society, for example, is a place that is a conference. We call it Cheese Camp, just to give you an idea how wonderful it is.
I want to go to Cheese Camp.
It is really fantastic. And to see all these people that comes from different backgrounds and work in different area in cheese, in food, and yet there is people who make no money and people who make a lot of money, and they are all in the same place. And yes, there's always drama of like everyday life, but like it's not, at the end, they all bring down the arms and the weapons, right? Like there's no war anymore, and you're just trying to fight together in the purpose of making good cheese. Just making good cheese, which sounds ridiculous, but when you know the amount of work that goes into it, the ancestral techniques, cheese was one of the first things ever invented. It was 10,000 years ago. It's part of your DNA. Like, even if you're lactose intolerant, I am lactose intolerant, so I can tell you, it's part of us. This is why people love cheese so much. Michael Pollan, I just read Cooked recently, and he had this great passage about cheese and how it's weird because there's something about this balance of decay and life, and it's weird because it stinks, but it's good, and we love it, and we hate it all at once, but yet it's like the most human thing in a way. And the work that is put into it is just passion, because the work that it is, you cannot just do that just because you want money. You don't make money in cheese unless you get lucky and you get someone who can finance something for you. But most cheesemakers, like if they make $30,000 after 5 years and they break even, like they're the lucky one. That's also why our cheese shop tried to promote this smaller companies or like smaller cheesemakers, especially here in the US. We really try to support them. In France, it's a little harder because for them to export cheese, they're going to be a bigger company because we have to support markets, like just French market and the US and all throughout the world. But yet we still try to take the smaller company instead of the mass corporation or things like that. So we really try to focus on in sourcing, or like every item in the shop is who are they? What is their passion, or what is their idea behind it? What is their mission statement? Is it aligning with us of what we want to promote? And it doesn't matter what it is. At the end, when you try the cheese that is made properly with the cows grazing in the pasture and brought up with love and take all the time and care to take care of the cheese, it will be there in the taste. I don't even have to tell you the story behind it for you to not love this item. And maybe you're not going to love this cheese, but I will find a cheese that you love, doesn't matter what. You know what I mean?
So you figure out someone's palate and then
but at the end,
have them try stuff. That's really great. I love that.
And it's funny because at the cheese shop, a lot of people say, "Oh, what's your favorite cheese?" And I'm like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because like our taste buds are our personal fingerprints. We all grew up differently. Even if you're in the same family, you don't like the same things. So me telling you about my favorite cheese, I mean, yeah, you will know something about me. I don't mind sharing, but like, how does that help you? Because you might hate it. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean like we don't have anything in common. It's just like we have different. So what is it that you like? I know it's very scary to be at a cheese counter because you have expert behind, but it's also expensive here in this country. So people are intimidated. But don't, because at the end, it's all about what you like, and start with something small, and more you're going to come to the cheese shop, more you're going to discover new things. But we have things for everyone. So try new things. I think in life, it's always trying new experience. I always say it's you need to be comfortable in your uncomfortability, because we're always uncomfortable when we do something new. And same for tasting cheese. Yes, you might not like the cheese I give you like now, but maybe, you know what, in 5 years, you're going to love it. I have cheese that I hated when I first started eating them, and now they're some of my favorite cheese. So
when my husband and I went on our honeymoon, we went over to England because it was the same thing. His family couldn't make it to the wedding. So I flew over there to meet them, and we were in London and walking around, and we saw this cheese shop, and I was like, oh, so excited because it had these big wheels and dripping down the counters. And I went in, and I could only last like 30 seconds. And I was just like, oh, I'm overwhelmed by the funk. So I had to leave. But Brett stayed in and bought some cheese. But I want to go back now that I've developed all of those tastes, that I could probably like live in there.
Yeah.
It is so great. Yeah.
We get used to a lot of things. We're very resilient, and goodness also, like, it comes to you. Sometimes you don't see how good things are until you, I don't know, you open up a little bit.
Yeah, and you try new things and you grow. I want to ask you a little bit about growing up and your experiences with cheese in France, because you said it's just part of you, and I'm sure you've reflected on that over the years.
I never actually did.
Okay, so let's spend some time to reflect.
Let's go deep
on
into
how cheese was part of you in France. Because like you guys are like part of your DNA.
Yes, we eat cheese for lunch. We eat cheese for dinner. We eat so much bread as well. So growing up, I always say I come from Lyon because everybody knows Lyon, or at least most people know. It's the third biggest city of France. It's the capital of gastronomy. So there's amazing food. And I grew up right on the outskirts in the suburb. And it was an immigration town. So Vonvelin, it's a mouthful as well. 3 words. But it's pretty big and pretty small at once. And you have different parts of the city. And I was in the village. So I was the closest to the fields. And actually, my hometown is the capital of cardoons. So we have the Cardoon Festival, things like that. And in the same time, we're so close to Lyon that at this point is one big city. So if you go on the opposite way, you're just seeing building and building forever. But I always have this kind of half foot in the fields and half foot in the city. So I am a city girl. I live right here in the city, yet I need to get out and I need to be near nature. And my mom was like that. My mom was really into the wonders of life, and like we traveled so much. We didn't have that much money. My dad was a contractor for a long time and then became a teacher to teach young kids for them to have a job at 16. So to paint a wall. So either they have issues, we couldn't understand the language very well. So instead of keeping them in academia and failing, they will put them into these programs to get out of the academia and find a job sooner.
Like a trade school.
Yes, but way younger than here, I feel like. And my mom was a laboratory technician. So she worked there for 28 years, and I was making more than her at the end of her career as a server, for example. But she loved it. She was happy. They were happy. I have a happy little memory of my childhood.
And that's what's important, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were always traveling. So we travel all throughout France. We have not done one department of France, which is up north, but we went everywhere in the little RV, which was actually the van that my dad had for contracting, that he transformed it into RV for the summer, but also anywhere we were going throughout the year. And also,
that was how many years ago? That's like the big trend right now, is to like retrofit vans.
In France, has always been a thing though, because it's way more accommodating. The campgrounds, they have so much better infrastructure for people to travel. I have family who travels. I have an uncle in California. I have an uncle in Corsica. I have an uncle that literally lived on a boat for 10 years, and they just come back. But every 10 years, they climbed every glacier in the world. Like, I have just traveling family that loves traveling. So I was an only child. So it was also very easy to just put me with someone and go travel with my cousins. So I was always never home for vacations. I was always somewhere.
Cousins
family or friends. Yeah. I was always around people. And I got to try food because you're traveling and you go to restaurant once in a while. We were not huge in restaurant because, again, we didn't really have the money. But I have parents that cook. My mom was a really good cook. My uncles are really good cooks. So my grandma, I remember seeing my grandma just having something on the stove all day. And I always seen that. So having cheese to every meal, having people cooking, having to try so many different flavor and cuisine in France. And France is so tiny, but each department has their own thing. And my parents were adventurous enough that I feel like we will try the regional things. And we really visited a lot of farms and cheese making, from huge industrial cheesemakers to the small farmer that where my great grandfather's house was. He was a farmer, I guess. Say that, near the Alsace-Lorraine. So Les Vosges is like a tiny little thing near Strasbourg, Épinal, like this little corner of France. And we used to go during the summer. And right up the road, there was all the people who make Munster. Not the American Monster. It's like Munster, like the stinky, pungent cheese. And we just used to go after dinner, walk up the hill and give a carrot to the cows and the horses. But we got to see like how the cheese is being made. I remember that. And I say my great grandfather was a farmer, but because I saw him farm when he was 98, but he was actually a blacksmith. And there's a little museum with his forge, right? That's the name in English. Right down the street where he used to live. They tried to keep as much of the stuff that has been stolen over the years and recreate a little room about how it worked, like at the beginning of 1900.
So there's a little museum to your grandfather there.
Yeah, and actually I've seen him do that. Like he showed us, and he was like, what, 90? All right, for me to remember, he was probably 95 already, and he was like hammering metal and things like that just to show us, all the kids. And I also remember that because my dad had a camera and he filmed it. He filmed the whole thing. So it was really cool.
Oh, that's great to have.
So, but reflection about cheese, realistically, I don't know if I ever reflected on it. I just know that before COVID, I remembered every cheese I ever tried. So I have vivid memory of me eating my first vache Ramon d'Or, like in the RV, and it's like this wash rind in a wooden box. It's only start making in August 15 and they cannot be sold before September 15. And then it's for like until the winter. It's made with winter milk, because when the cows are coming down, there's more fat in their in their milk, so they are not eating all the pasture. There's this whole thing going on about it. It's very unique and special, and it was expensive for us. And for me, I tried it with a spoon, and I thought, this is the best thing I ever had. And eating it, and my mom, I can remember seeing her face and be like, no, we need to share. It's expensive. You cannot just eat it like this. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's not your personal
I know. I mean, it's not even that big. It could be a personal will if you ask me today. But at the time, I was like, this is just the most wonderful thing. And it's not a mild cheese. But also I remember like when I was probably 5, never remember, like I think it's 5, 6, maybe younger. We were in the Alps, which is not that far, and I have family there, and we met for a weekend. It was a 3-day weekend, and we ended up to a farm where they make Tome de Savoie, farmstead, and my parents bought a whole wheel. They're about, I don't know, this big, about 2.5 pounds, no, 2.5 kilos, so 5 pounds or something like that. And we bought the whole wheel. So it was kind of expensive to do such a thing for my family, and they put it in the back of the car, and I was in the back of, like just on top behind the back seat, right? In the trunk, you have this like elevated thing. And I remember it was right there, and I could smell it. And slowly.
So wait, you're sitting in the back seat, and it's like right over your shoulder.
Right behind me, right behind my head, and it smells, and it's delicious. It's earthy and
you
grassy.
Suddenly became a mouse.
I did. And I slowly opened it, and I was eating slowly but surely the cheese. And I ate half of it in our an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour drive. My parents saw that. They were so mad, but yet my parents never yell at me in a way. Like my parents would be more like this silent disappointment. I'll be like, what have you done? And I got really sick. And yet this cheese is still one of my favorite cheese I ever eat. Like every time it brings me back to this moment of me sneaking out to eat all this cheese. I remember myself just like,
that is so funny.
Or like, in France we have, instead of the tooth fairy, we have a mouse that takes your teeth and give you money. So I thought, well, if it's a mouse, it will love some cheese. So I put in an aluminum foil a piece of cheese underneath my pillow for me to give to the mouse to get money for my teeth.
Along with a tooth? Or
you just have to put it together. But I put the cheese in the aluminum foil because my parents was like, it's gonna be a mess. And I remember falling asleep. But before I did that, I ate the entire cheese, but leave the rind. And I thought, it's a mouse. It's not gonna know what it is.
It's not so picky.
It's not gonna be mad at me if it's just the rind. And yeah, that's what I did. So apparently I love sneaking and eating cheese everywhere. That's what I remember as a child.
That is a fantastic story. Thank you so much for sharing
that. No, I actually haven't thought about this story in forever.
You mentioned before COVID.
Yes. I lost my taste and smell during COVID.
That was a big thing during COVID.
Yes. And we got COVID at the beginning. And we didn't even know it was COVID, but it was just the time that they were shutting down everything. So my father-in-law is a doctor. And as soon as I'm not feeling good, and we were so stressed out. We had mini panic attacks like every day because we ran out of money because we didn't get paid for a few years. And we suddenly were like, we're never going to survive this. But in the same time, you have to be there and you need to find ways of how are we going to survive this? And I had this gut feeling that the state was going to close because like you could see slowly it was shutting down. And I was like, Chris, we need to figure this out. We need a plan because I do not want our customers to be like lost and we're all going to be lost. So we need something simple that we can follow through. And we got lucky because we were closed on Monday, and on Sunday they announced that the same week, Sunday they announced they closed the state. And we worked for 3 days. So I was really stressed out and I was very tired because we worked night and day during this time to make a plan in place. And it worked out very well because we never had to change the plan for months. It was set in stone and it was as easy as we could make it for everyone. And I got sick and Chris stayed home with me. So it was literally during the weekend and we stay home and suddenly I lost my taste of smell, taste, but I forced us to eat and I got stuck with the smoke of a pulled pork that I had that we were eating that I made in 1,000 different plates, mac and cheese and then tacos and things like that. And I got stuck with the smoke. So the only thing I could actually smell was smoked or taste. And I hated it. So I hated anything smoky for a very long time. And then it was impossible. Everything I loved became rotten. And everything I hated, however, started to actually feel good. So I used to hate coffee. I remember this morning, I used to hate coffee. The smell, the color, like everything about it, I hate it. Like you can put a little bit of coffee in a cake and I will be like, what is happening? What is this? And suddenly I remember going down the stairs and I was like, oh, what is this delicious toasted nuts, like hazelnut with brioche? And I was like, what is the smell? And Chris was like, you mean coffee? And I was like, oh, no, I don't think so. So I made myself a tiramisu to know that I realize I like coffee now. I just don't drink coffee because I definitely do not need this. So it got too bitter and I was like, well, unless I put a ton of cream and sugar, what's the point of any of this? And not enjoying actually coffee as a sense. So it started this way, but I went through so much of relearning everything because suddenly I really felt at the time that the memory was cut off from me. So everything I was tasting did not taste the same as I remembered. So I was also having back surgery. So I was home doing nothing and not experiencing the world out there. So I haven't smelled, and it's not something I could do. So I had to relearn. So I read books about tasting, like wine tasting. I actually took books of wine tasting about how to taste. And I really went back to try everything to know what, for example, is the flavor of a Brussels sprouts or a red pepper compared to a green pepper. Because at the end, your memories of food is what you grew up with, right? So like the first time you had a pepper, was it actually cooked? Was it actually raw? How did you remember that? And I had to go back to this roots of like, what are actually the flavor of things. So I do believe that nowadays I will take it as a positive in a way that I had to relearn so much. And I like so much more things that I used to hate, like cinnamon. I hated cinnamon. And now I'm the kind of person who's like, the fall season happened and I'm like, I'm here for it. And for like, 30 years, I just hated it. So
that's great. So you got real analytical about what taste actually is and how we taste things.
And how you function. Because actually it's all about your smell. Your taste buds do a part of the job, but even when you're chewing on something, you have this cavity between your nose and your mouth, right? So when you're chewing, you're actually sending receptors to your nose. So like it's actually working in tandem. And then studies showed that COVID actually attacked the cells of the brain, the synapse between memory. And I was like, this is how I felt. Like I literally had this feeling, conscious feeling that this was what's happening in my brain. So I just rerouting my synapse realistically. I took that like a lot of things I do in my life where you just reframe. And I'm all about reframing now. So if we're mad or upset, like I have to be like, okay, let's reframe. Like how can we make that better? Or like, what is actually the positive in all of this? So I did a lot of reframing about a lot of things all throughout this past few years. I learned so much.
So is your sense of taste and smell back? Or is it just, have you just retrained it's different?
However, it did come back last year in January.
And was it a dramatic thing or was it a gradual thing and you just realized?
It's more like suddenly I woke up and I was like, I feel the subtlety of things, which before it was more like I deconstructed flavor so I could now reconnect to these memories. But suddenly it's not just a flavor. It's like a painting. You have all this paint, but then suddenly you mix them together and then it does a painting, right? And it was kind of the same thing for my smell and taste, where suddenly all of this became a painting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Oh,
that's freaking beautiful.
So I said that I got my taste back in January, and it actually I can precisely remember, it was January 2nd, because on January 1st, in 2022, it was not a good year for the shop. It was not a good year for us. It was after COVID, aftermath kind of things. And we had a bad year and we didn't know how to deal with it. But we decided that on January 1st, we were going to take mushrooms to put the year behind us and move forward. We have taken mushroom a few times, but we do it very more like a holistic way of being home and trying to reconnect and to heal, or at least heal us, right, as a couple. Or it really is a moment of reflection and bonding. And we did that. And I was struggling since September that I torn 5 tendons in my ankle. My knee was bothering me and it was swollen all the time because of my ankle, but also my back. It was all obviously related. But my ankle was so bad that I didn't have time to heal, and we were so busy. The holidays is the busiest time of the year. So I suck it up. I never cried about it. I never, even when it happened, I knew it was bad. I heard a crack and I thought maybe I tear a tendon, but I was like, it doesn't matter. I need to go through the holidays. So I kind of suck it up, and it felt like stabbing pain every day, and I was carrying heavy things. I was not healing fast enough, really, even after I saw my doctors, and I was going to physical therapy. I was doing all the right thing, and yet it was not really healing that fast. And we took mushroom, and this moment that I just closed my eyes and I just saw this energy that goes through my tippy toes and my toes to the top of my head. And I really felt that like I could let myself heal. And I just felt suddenly this urge of energy going through my whole body. And I started crying because I thought it was beautiful that I finally let myself cry about the pain. And I've been in pain for so long with my back, and I was still recovering from surgery. I'm still recovering in a weird way of surgery because after 8 years of using the wrong muscles too, you have to relearn everything. So it's been just so much pain, and I just let myself cry. I was just like, I need to let it go. And I just felt I could heal. I was willing to heal, to let myself heal. And the next day, I'm not thinking at all about my brain and the synapse of my brain and COVID and all this. That was really like, I was really feeling this energy going through my whole body, but more about my ankle, and let it, my whole body just be like, it's okay. And then, the next day, so then I woke up and I was like, I feel it. I taste all of the subtlety of things. It was kind of beautiful. Wow. So it's hard because it's officially not legal yet. And yet we know how much it heals so much. And there's so much study being done. So I really hope it helps. And because I know some people are still struggling with that forever with COVID. And if he thinks this is it, when I personally, and it was not my first time. So it was not the first, trip, I guess is how they're called, but it was a few times. I think it was the third time that I took it. And we don't do huge dose, we really do as a tea, and just more about let it happen and connect.
You were talking earlier about lactose intolerance.
Yes, I am lactose intolerant.
Yeah, and you're the cheese woman. So,
well, lucky
you lived in France and you were a mouse for part of your upbringing. So
unfortunately, I was not lactose intolerant recently, which recently could have been maybe in denial for the past 5 years to 10 years. I don't know. I was in denial for a long time. I was always very bloated, and I always struggle with certain things, but I never put them together. And I suddenly 2 years ago, I was like, I notice every time I eat ice cream, I get cramps. And nothing bad really happened to me. So I was just like, oh, it's just, what I'm eating. Something doesn't agree, or I'm stressed out. I always have stomachache if I'm stressed out. So I just thought, oh, this is another thing. But then 3 days in a row, I ate ice cream, and 3 days in a row, I was like in pain. And I was like, maybe I should try lactate, just like a lactose supplement to help me with that. And it worked. So suddenly I was not bloated anymore. I put that for a long time on my birth control, but then I didn't have birth control. So then it was not a thing. And I was like, all right, I'm still bloated. So maybe I put down depression. I put down like all kind of other symptoms that I had. So I realized it was actually lactose.
But I'm happy to hear you say that it was ice cream to blame for your realizing that, and not cheese.
Because it is actually a whole thing. The people are sad about me sometimes when I say that, because I make it as a joke. But it's the best place to be lactose intolerant, because you know exactly what you can and cannot eat. And if not, you have supplements to help you. The thing is, milk is different than cheese, because you actually get rid of a lot of the lactose making cheese. So having a fresh cheese is still less lactose than a cup of milk. It's like raw milk cheese and raw milk, totally different species of things in a certain way. Cheese, actually, a lot of cheese are lactose free. And soft cheeses and cow's milk is really the culprit. So the lactose is a thing, but not really, in a sense that sheep and goat have different size of protein. So they are way easier to digest. So some people, everybody's different. So I cannot just be like, oh, this is the miracle cure for everyone. But for example, sheep and goat's milk are fine for me, even soft cheeses, because the protein is smaller. Goat's milk protein, for example, is the size, very similar size than breast milk protein. As humans, we were all lactose intolerant. We just had about 9,000 years ago, someone in the north decided that change mutated, and that got spread out, and more south you go, less lactose tolerant you are. And it's literally just because of a mutation that happened to us. So the cow's milk protein is bigger and harder to digest kind of for everyone, but some people are just better than others. And I always laugh because I'm like, if you're laughing now, you're too young. You can only laugh if you're 85 years old and you can drink a cup of milk, because realistically it can happen to you when you get older. We're not supposed to drink milk for our entire life. So this is kind of normal that we are losing this protein realistically to help you digest all of this. So I avoid soft cheeses as much as I can, but they're delicious. However, whole hard cheeses are fine. So a lot of people cannot have mozzarella or brie, but we can have Parmesan Reggiano. It's cow's milk. And lactose, it's not really the thing either, because goat and sheep's milk also have lactose. It's not like they're lactose free. It's just the protein is different. So yes, some people still going to have harder time with soft cheeses, goat or sheep's milk, but any hard cheeses are totally fine. And then you have like cheddars that are always going to be lactose free, just because the way they're made, like they have different steps added to the process that make them lactose free. Like Gouda are lactose free. I mean, it's kind of great. They're washing the curd. They get rid of a lot of the lactose. And then there's like some certain cheese, because they make certain techniques in there that are lactose free as well. So then we know that behind the counter, and we can guide you through the cheese case. But realistically, what you should do is try the hardest cheese and go down and see where it stopped bothering you, and stop there. You know, any cheese that is this soft or like this age, you should stop eating them, or at least take a lactate or something like that to go with it. So I do have to admit that why also there's so many cheeses, even softer ones that are lactose free, is there's the A2 protein that nowadays is more and more prominent in the world. So I'm not really sure what they're using. I never actually did the research or talked to them about this, but you could find A2 milk at Costco. You can find it at the co-op. You can find it like in a lot of places. And A2 milk is a protein that is smaller and easier to digest. So it's just regular milk, but if they are just breeding the cows that have the A2 protein in their milk, for them to have whole kettle of A2 milk. So it took years. And I remember the first cheeses who had that were very proud of this and be like, oh, it's lactose free, is like from our perspective, right? Like we are direct connection with the producer or with our rep that tells us about this. And I think nowadays you have more and more of this A2 milk kettle around that are able to make A2 milk protein cheese.
Does it say like A2
yeah.
milk?
I mean, Costco literally had big A2 milk, and you were supposed to know about it, which is funny because no one ever talked about it. That is a thing, but A2 milk is kind of fantastic. I remember almost 10 years ago when the co-op had, and I was like, I don't know what that means. I started in cheese and I was just like, I don't know what that is. And now that I'm like, buyer and more in the present, like I learned so much anyways, but I remember when I started hearing about A2 milk, I was like, oh, okay. So that exists. That's also why certain things are lactose free without you even wondering. Or I just wish the cheesemaker were actually more prominent about it, that their cheese are lactose free, even for the population more than us, because we will know that. Also, there's a great way to know if your cheese is lactose free. Realistically, if you're in a grocery store, you don't want to talk to a cheesemonger and come to our little shop. You can actually look at the label, and if you see carbohydrates and it's 0%, it's lactose free. Oh, because lactose is the sugar in milk, and the carbohydrate is the transformation of sugar. So if this carbohydrate is 0%, it's actually lactose free.
Hot tip.
Yeah, really hot tip. I think everybody should know that.
You have this space upstairs, which is your workshop area. What happens up here? Tell me about this.
So we are in our little classroom. It's 12 people maximum, really. And I do classes, way too many classes. I do classes 3 to 4, 5 times a week. And I deep dive about almost everything we talk to, but really deep dive into each cheese. So I do 5 cheeses with 5 pairings. And depending on the class I'm doing, but I really deep dive into how the cheese is being made, the history behind the cheese. For example, in France, brie, we're talking about brie, where it's brie coming from. When did we starting to hear about brie? Why is it so famous? Where is actually from. There's all this stuff that I think people don't know, that Brie seems so generic, but it's actually from the canton of Brie near Paris, that is near Champagne. So why Champagne and Brie go so well together? Like, it was because they were grown together, and since the 1200 we hear about it. So it's all this stuff that I go and deep dive into. So I do a lot of this kind of classes, tasting. And we also do a subscription box that it's a mini class but at home. So if you cannot come all the way to the shop, we ship that for 2-day shipping, but we're almost there to ship all throughout the US. But we do a video content and like essay, and we focus on one artisan cheesemaker. And we really interview them. We taste the cheese together in the video, and we do the same thing. It's kind of a little mini class again at home if you really want to learn, and if not, you can just eat the cheese and enjoy it. But there's other goodies in there. And we do fresh cut cheese, and we do obviously cheese and charcuterie boards. And yes, charcuterie actually means cured meats and not just cheese boards. I just want to put that out there. I'm going to fight the fight. Charcuterie is a French word for cured meats. So if you buy our charcuterie board, it's going to be 100% meat. And we do sample Saturday if you're coming to the shop. Not that you cannot try anything anytime, but it's time to focus on one item, and we have a whole story. And also our Instagram and social media is all about education. So last year I had less time, but I'm going to be much better to talk about cheese. So I feel last year I was slacking a little bit. I was always constantly, never had the time to do as much deeper research. So that's going to be a lot better this year. So if you want to learn about cheese and not just eat cheese and learn where it's coming from and have more appreciation of our ancestry, and because it's part of who we are. And everybody, again, because of the 3-hour study time, they read so much, and we have certified 2 other cheesemongers. One actually just left last year, but that's the goal, is like if they want to leave and work somewhere else, we understand that people are not going to stay with us forever, and we cannot, there's a certain point we're not going to be able to pay them more unless something happens and we all work together on this goal. But if you actually want a better job like that, you at least have your certification. You can be like, hey, so they can have the best job possible if they leave. That's also the part of why it's important. So when you come to the cheese shop, a lot of people want to talk to me because I teach them a class. But yes, I know a lot, but they know the cheese case way better than I will ever know, because I'm never downstairs. Because of my broken back, the only thing I cannot do is bend and lift. And this is the entire day at the cheese shop, so I cannot be behind the counter. So it's kind of funny in the sense that I created a whole job. My husband and I, we created a whole job for me that I cannot do anymore. So I had to adapt, and hence why I do classes. It really what I started focusing on, because I studied so much during my back surgery that I was like, well, what am I going to do with all this knowledge but say it to people?
Absolutely. And I'm sure people enjoy your knowledge.
I think they're pretty fun.
Yeah.
People come back.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Well, thank you so much for this. This was really lovely.
Thank you so much.
And I think I need to go downstairs and do some
shopping.
Cheese looking.
Everyone knows that food is food. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced and hosted by Shelley Danko Day. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul LeBreeze and friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, review and share. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram at With Bowl and Spoon. Thanks for listening.
Bowl